Hello, my beautiful souls. Welcome to my first episode of Flip the Script. I can't believe this is even happening right now, but it is, and I'm so excited. I'm so proud, and I know my future self is cheering me on. So here we are. And Flip the Script is a podcast for millennial creatives, artists, and spiritual entrepreneurs who are just ready to be the director of their own lives. My purpose here is to really plant seeds and to activate you and to help shift your energy, shift yourself into your highest timeline. And the only thing you need here is the willingness to just be open to receive the messages that you need to hear. At the end of the day, you're able and you're capable. But typically, the little missing piece here is that willingness. How willing are you to do whatever it takes to achieve the things that you desire in life? And that's what this podcast is going to be all about. And yeah, like I said, the only thing that you need is a willingness, having just an open heart, and just decide for yourself that you are ready to live a life that turns you on, that lights you up inside. And if you're here, if you're listening to my podcast, it's because there's already a part of you that's already ready for that next level in your life. And however that may look, it's going to look different for everybody. And that's something that I also want to emphasize that my podcast is all about. And even just my teachings alone has to do with really finding your unique path. I've always been a type of person that I never really believed that everyone should fit in a certain mold, or that you have to follow a specific step by step thing. Like I always really preached is that you find your own way that truly leads you to your own journey. It's about you creating your own path. It's not about copying and pasting. Like it's okay to, follow certain steps, but at the end of the day, it's about what is a full body yes for you. And yeah, so I'm super excited. And my name is Angie, and I am a mindset and energy alchemist coach. And I'm ready to have deep conversations with you and your higher self. So today's first episode is going to be about my first spiritual awakening, that pretty much led me on this journey for the past, like 10 years now, which is pretty crazy. So let's get started. Basically, like I was saying, I've been in the personal development space for 10 years now, which is pretty insane to like think about. Like time has flew by, my goodness. And I basically have witnessed the industry evolve and blow up like crazy over the past 10 years. And it's really been a space where it's really impacted people in such a positive way. It's it's caused like a ripple effect for people to start questioning their own lives and to start asking questions and to like get curious about doing the inner work and to just be a better version of themselves overall. And I feel like right now, there's definitely a huge purge going on right now as a collective, but it's because something beautiful is blooming right beneath it all. So excited to see how everything evolves even more as more people are becoming more awakened, um, and really getting more curious with life more and more. And so, before I go into my story on my first spiritual awakening, I just wanted to kind of explain what the heck is a spiritual awakening to begin with, right? What does that even mean? What is that? Because definitely in the beginning of my journey, I didn't even know what that was. I've never really heard of it, until I started diving into spirituality. And so pretty much a spiritual awakening is like having a profound shift happen in your life. That's truly what it feels like. It's like this calling for like a deeper mental, having like a deeper mental awareness around your life. You start to like question a lot of things, and you start to have like a different perspective. Like you become enlightened from a certain experience that you have in your life, and you kind of get to a point where you're kind of like tired of your bullshit, or you're just, yeah, you just had like enough, and you're just like you're ready for a change. Like something just happens internally within you. And this description may resonate with some of you that may be going through one right now. And when you go through a spiritual awakening, it's not like a one and done deal. Like life is a journey. So you're going to go through several. I definitely have gone through many myself. And it's just because you're basically going to like a higher consciousness of like a higher state of mind, like I said, like a deeper mental awareness about the things that are happening around you in the society. Yeah, and you just start to really question a lot of things, and this is where your journey of self-discovery really begins. And so for myself, and if you see me looking to the side, I just have some notes here so I don't go off too much because sometimes that can happen. But basically, my journey, this epic journey of mine of self love and self discovery, began 10 years ago when I was 24 years old. That's pretty much when, like, the major shift happened. Like, so much was happening in my life. Like, that's usually how it all happens. Like, and there was just a specific moment that I was just like done with it all. And at this time, I was pretty much in an unhealthy, toxic relationship for 3 years. I didn't really know what love was. And you have to understand, like, at that time, my mental state, like, I didn't even know how to love myself. So how can I expect somebody to love me? You know? And so again, I didn't know what true love really was, but I was in a toxic relationship for 3 years. And then I was also in a toxic job where I was getting bullied at work. And just because I was super young, and if people know me, and if you're watching the video version of this, I'm 33 years old, and people still think that I'm in my early 20s. And so you can imagine when I was 24 years old that I looked like a baby pretty much. And so during that time, I was working as a speech therapist at a high school. So I pretty much blended in with the high school students. And so I don't know if it was just because I looked super young that other teachers just didn't really take me too seriously. So they made things a little bit tougher for me um, during that time. And honestly, like I was just unhealthy overall. Like I truly was the ultimate people pleaser at that time. And, shameless plug, that's why I created the People Pleaser Wound ebook, because I was literally the ultimate people pleaser, like when I was 24 years old. I didn't know how to stand up for myself. I didn't know, I really had like super low self esteem. My self worth, didn't even know what that was. My throat chakra was completely shot. So that's why I created that ebook, because man, do I wish I had that when I was 24. My life would be completely different. Or even before I was 24. So I wouldn't even be in toxic places. But it's okay. We all have to go through our own journey. And that was just mine. That was my journey. And that's why I'm here today sharing it to help bring awareness and to help you in whatever you're going through. And that there's a way out. There's always a way out. You always have a choice. And back then, the thing is, like, I just didn't really know that I had a choice. And so, from the outside looking in at that time, it looked like I was living the life. I was 24 years old, and I had just graduated from UCF, Go Knights, got my bachelor's degree. And then on top of that, like once I graduated, I basically got a job, like I said, at a high school as a speech therapist. So I was already, working in my career. And then I also was like one of my only friends that had like my own apartment that I paid by myself, like it was mine, type deal. So, and then I was also in a long-term relationship, you know, and that pretty much, from the outside looking in, on paper, that looks, oh, you're doing just fine. You're living the life, your life is good. What do you have to complain about? And honestly, like with all those things, like I was the most unhappiest in my life. that was probably the most unhappiest, to be honest, that I was, even though I've gone through some things recently in like 2022, 2023, and that I'm not going to share that right now. That'll be for another episode, but um, it doesn't compare to my unhappiness during that time, because all areas of my life were just completely out of whack. I didn't like my job. I wasn't happy in my relationship. I didn't like where I was living. I didn't feel like I can talk to anybody. Like I didn't feel like I really had somebody that I can just be my full self. I was literally wearing so many masks. Like pretending. I was just always pretending because I never wanted to step on anyone's toes. Like I said, I was the ultimate people pleaser. And, during that time, I was really, really depressed, like super depressed. That I wouldn't eat. I would just kind of like starve myself, even though I could buy myself food and stuff like that. But I was just so unhappy that I just didn't want to eat. That was just kind of how I coped with my unhappiness, was treating my body not so well, not with love. And I would come home from work. I remember like just hating life. And because I would be so mistreated at work, and on top of that, like I just didn't feel like I had a safe space. I always felt like I had to prove myself all the time, and pretend to be someone that I never really wanted to be to begin with. I never wanted to be a speech therapist. That was not the journey that I wanted truly for myself. But again, because I was the ultimate people pleaser at that time, I didn't know how to have a voice. I didn't know how to really speak my truth. I didn't really know how to tell my parents, like, no, like, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. I just didn't really have much of a voice because I was just so scared to speak up. I was so scared to speak up. And yeah, and like, I struggled to say no. I struggled to walk away from things. And even during that time, I would just say yes to everybody. You want to go out? Yes, let's go. Do you want to do this? Yes, let's do it. You want to da da da? Yes, 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 yes. And there was literally like no time for Angie, like to discover herself. And like when I was 18, I pretty much like graduated from high school and went straight to college. And it like I never really drank or did any type of partying in high school. So college was like my playground to like explore, but I just didn't really have like certain tools in place to like manage my emotions that I was going through at that time. I just didn't really know how to set healthy boundaries, and it seemed like such a impossible task for myself. And if you are somebody that has struggled with people pleasing, you may be able to relate with that. And and yeah, and I was pretty much just scared of like what's gonna happen. Am I gonna not be loved? Like, am I gonna get lashed out? Like, my parents gonna disown me? Am I never gonna find the love of my life? If I don't continue with this career, like what am I gonna do? Like, who am I? Like, I was having all these questions like coming up um, during that time. And yeah, and that's what really was like starting to push me, like all these questions that were coming up, because I was just like, this needs to stop. Like, this is not fulfilling me anymore. Like, I have the career, I have the degree, I have my own apartment, I have a car, like I have all these things, but like I am none of it means anything to me, you know? And and I knew like during that time I was receiving a lot of signs. Like, I don't during that time I didn't really believe in like spirituality per se. um but I remember like going on like Instagram and stuff like that, and on Facebook, and I would always see like these quotes popping up all the time. And these quotes would like speak volumes to me, because it would speak like it would say stuff that I was currently going through in my life, and that it was time to let go, and it was time to do this. And I was like, the heck, what's going on? Why do I keep seeing these type of quotes? Like, it was kind of like freaking me out, because I was kind of like, why is this so aligned to how I'm like feeling right now? And I would just ignore it. I was like, no, I don't need to listen to this bullshit type deal. And so, but eventually, like, I just hit rock bottom, like, and because the whole not feeling satisfied, going to work and dreading life, and like driving back home, like barely, like I was always falling asleep on the wheel. I literally was, because that's just how deprived I was. Like, I wasn't really feeding myself very well. I was drinking a lot during that time, because it's kind of like what you kind of it's kind of what you learn in college, like, oh, you're having a bad day, let's go get fucked up. Oh, you had issues with your boyfriend, let's go get fucked up. Oh, da da da. Every the solution to all those things was always getting fucked up. Which is like, oh my God, it's so crazy. Like, just thinking about how much I drank during that time, like, blows my mind, because I honestly don't even know how my body I don't even know how I didn't get alcohol poisoning, because I was way smaller back then than how I am now. Like, now I got some meat on myself, but back then, like, I was super skinny back then. I was weighing like 108 to 110 pounds at most. Like, gaining any weight was like impossible during that time. And, and the reason why I would drink a lot is because, again, I was so unhappy and I didn't have anybody to talk to. And even when I was trying to like tell my parents like how unhappy I was, if like, it was just hard for them to understand like why I was even unhappy. Because, again, on paper, it seems like you should be the happiest person ever. Like, you just graduated, you accomplished all these things, but the thing is, like, I accomplished these things, but not for me. I accomplished them for my parents, per se. There was other things that I wanted to do and wanted to be instead, but I just listened to everybody around me because I felt like I just couldn't make decisions for myself. I just didn't believe in myself. And that's what led me to all that. And so I would lean on alcohol and I would just black out all the time, which obviously is not good. And there was definitely an angel watching over me all the time, because there was definitely close calls, guys, like really close moments where I shouldn't even be alive right now, to be honest. But obviously I have a purpose here, and there's something within me that needs to be shared, and I believe that that's why I'm still here. Like, yeah, I have a big mission, and I know that. And so I'm just grateful for my spirit guides, my angels that have been protecting me this whole time, because my goodness. But yeah, and so I was going down this path of hitting rock bottom, and I was really lost. I didn't know anything about spirituality. Um, my relationship with God, like, pretty much didn't exist during that time, because something had happened to me in college, which that's going to be a discussion for another day. But that's where I kind of like lost my faith. And even like during college, during high school and stuff like that, like, I don't know, I just never really had that strong relationship with God during that time. So yeah, so one day I just kind of like hit rock bottom, and I didn't know where else to turn, because, I didn't really feel seen and heard from my parents during that time. Like, I love my parents. We have a great relationship now, but during that time when I was 24, you got a little bit of context. Like, I'm the oldest child. So if you're the oldest child, like, you can relate to this, that, sometimes you're pretty much the guinea pig in the family. They don't know how to handle certain situations or how to approach certain situations. So sometimes they kind of treat you the hardest. And and I would say like I do consider myself an empath, so I can be like sensitive. Doesn't mean that I'm weak, but it just means that like I take things sometimes to the heart, and so yeah, I just didn't really feel like I could talk to my parents about it because I just didn't feel understood. I didn't really feel like I could talk to many of my friends about it either, just because um, I just felt like I kind of created this persona of myself that I wasn't really being honest about a lot of things. And I was just pretending to be certain things just to fit in. I just wanted to fit in, like to the point where I didn't even have curly hair back then. Like it was non-existent. I just wanted to be like all the white girls and like, have straight hair and bleach my hair blonde and like be like a white girl. Like I was like never, I was not myself. I didn't know who I was. I hated my curly hair back then. I like what I almost even got like a perm once, which that's another story for another day. But yeah, like, and it makes sense why my life was the way it was, because it was literally a complete reflection of what was going on inside here. And yeah, and so, I didn't know who else to turn to. And so I remember one day I was in my room and I just kneeled down for the first time in a very, very, very long time. And I just started praying to God to help me and to guide me, because I just didn't know where else to go, who else to turn to. And even though I had like lost my faith, I still like believed in a God. I still believe that God existed. It's just that I was mad at God. But I also knew that I was protected, because again, like I said, I had a lot of scares happen during that time, that I knew that I was also protected. So I don't know, something just led me to pray that day. And I remember just like bawling and everything like that, and it felt good. It felt really good to just do that for myself. And then after that, like literally like a few days later, I was just on my laptop on my bed, and I was just like looking things up, and something came up, like some ad about like a life coach popped up, and I was like reading her blog, and everything that she was saying in her blog like hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, what the heck? Like I feel so understood with everything that she's saying. Like this is exactly like what I'm feeling right now. Like someone can actually understand me. And so I remember for the first time ever, I scheduled my first free, like 30-minute one-on-one session with a complete stranger. You got to understand, like, this was like 10 years ago. Like, this is way more common, a very common thing now. Like, but back then it was so taboo. Like, what do you mean you're going to talk to a stranger about your life? Like, who does that? Back then it was like, it was in the beginning stages. Personal development was just like becoming like a known thing, but it was very still much in its infancy during that time. So I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, what do I have to lose? Like, it seems like she can understand me. Let's see where this conversation leads. And honestly, that moment changed my life forever. And I know that was God leading me in that moment. Because a complete stranger, like she simply just believed in me. And that's all I needed. That's all I needed in that moment, was for someone to just believe that it has some potential to do something outside of what I went to school for. Because I just didn't feel like it was my calling to be a speech therapist. That never was like, it never felt like a full body yes. It was felt so forced. And yeah, it was just amazing, an amazing, amazing feeling to feel so seen by a stranger. And she did that for me. And I don't think she knows like the type of impact that she created in my life. But I am forever grateful for that. And that's kind of like what honestly led me to the journey of being a life coach and being a spiritual coach, and doing all these type of like coaching things, because of that moment, because I saw the type of impact that created in my life, and I'm like, wow, I can do that for people too. And after I spoke to her about my situation with my parents, my situation with my ex, and all these things, she really lit something up in me. Like she just spoke life into me, like no one has ever said to me before. In that moment, I was just like, I got activated, and that's when I built up the courage to break up with my ex of 3 years. I said enough is enough. Like we're done. I'm no longer going to be a freaking doormat. I'm no longer going to be belittled. Like, no, we're done. And then that's also the moment that I stood up to my parents and I told them that I was no longer going to be a speech therapist, that I'm leaving that behind. And I know that, it was an investment, but it's not what I want. It's not what I desire. It's not me. And I'm not happy and I'm not going to do it. Um, and, obviously, like these conversations were not easy conversations. I had to build, like I said, I was the ultimate people pleaser. And if you know anything about people pleasing, like it takes a lot of courage, a lot of bravery to say, like, we're done. No more. Like, no. And like, I never used to say no. I always said yes all the time. So for me to be like, no, was huge, was like monumental in my life. And yeah, I left it all behind. I left it all behind. And that's when I started to finally live life for me and for no one else. And like I said, it's been a journey. It's not like it's just like everything just happens overnight and that it's this easy thing. Like a lot of people see me now, but it's been 10 years, guys. It's been 10 years. It's been a long time. I've evolved so much over time. The reason why I'm so confident now and the reason why I love myself so much, like I have so much love for myself. Like the fact that I can even look at a mirror and be like, I love you, Angie, like that blows me away because I used to never feel like that. I was the complete opposite. I didn't even want to look at myself in the mirror. Like I didn't even care to. Um, yeah, the reason why I am the way I am now is because of these courageous moments that I've had in my life. And this was my first major pivotal moment in my life that woke me up. It really woke me up to a new timeline. And and it still took a lot. It still took a lot because my parents weren't super supportive about it. Like they kind of like heard me out and they let things happen and stuff like that. But I never really got like their full support in it, because you got to understand like if you're Hispanic and stuff or Latino, like you get it, like our family, like their kids sometimes be super traditional, like you got to go to school, you got to get the career, you got to get married, have kids, da 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 da. And I am the complete opposite of that. I definitely yeah, I'm the complete opposite of that. So but it doesn't make my parents any less of a parent. They did the best that they could with what they knew, and that led them to being even better parents to my brother, to my little brother. But that's a whole other story. We're not going to get into that. But yeah, this basically was my most pivotal moment and what led me to starting to dive into like being some sort of coach. I got into like health coaching. I was like a personal trainer at one point. I even went to like Hippocrates Health Institute and I went completely raw vegan for like 6 weeks or no, wait, I think it was like 9 weeks, and I got my holistic health educator certificate over there. Like that's you got to understand it's a journey. It's not just you go from one point to the next. It's about learning to take baby steps. And this is something that I didn't realize in the beginning. I used to be so hard on myself because I was like, I tried this new thing and it didn't really quite feel like it was completely me just yet. And then I would pivot. And then I would feel bad about pivoting because obviously, we're taught that you're supposed to just stick with one thing and that's supposed to be who you're going to be for the rest of your life. And so but now where I am at this point in my life, it's like now it's about listening to that intuitive nudge. what's a full body yes for you, what truly lights you up, and follow that. And it's okay that things change sometimes and that you evolve, because you're going to have new levels of awareness. And that's kind of what was happening to me in the beginning. I started out as a personal trainer and health coach first. But then I truly started to realize when I was doing those things, like there was this huge missing component, which was the mindset, because all these people would do all these workouts, but then they would always fall back. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Or like, there's like a missing piece. And then that kind of led me into like being a life coach and all those things. And so I'll definitely talk more about what led me into Reiki and what led me into the energy work, and how did I get to this specific point right now. But that was definitely the beginning of my journey. And I don't regret it. I don't regret it at all. I'm grateful for the lessons, for the experiences, because it's what has built who I am. That's why I'm so strong now. That's why my mindset is I'm so resilient. And I'm proud. I'm proud of the journey. And it's a decision that I made that was for me, finally for me. And it started my journey of self-discovery and to love myself again. And like that's where it starts for a lot of people, their spiritual awakenings. It has to do with self-love, coming back to themselves. And then from there, it opens up so many other doors. And so I hope that, this story today that I got to share, thank you for sitting through it, through some emotional pieces there that obviously, I still feel them. But I appreciate you for listening. And I'm so excited to start this journey of Flip the Script. Honestly, it's been like a dream of mine for quite some time. And I'm ready to step into that next level for myself. And I'm excited to help activate you guys and inspire you guys and to help you take that next step for yourself. It doesn't have to be some grandiose things. Remember, baby steps, they always add up at the end. So thank you so much for tuning in, and keep an eye out for any emails or my Insta story for the next episode. All right. Thank you guys.